Hello everyone. Today I will be showing a Musashi game with actually pretty favorable matchmaking. This is one of those cases where you actually end up with tier 9 matchmaking, in which cases of course the Musashi is extremely powerful. But more importantly than that, I'm gonna highlight something that is coming up starting tomorrow. Well, it actually started a while ago, but tomorrow I will be taking directly part. You can see we got a triple Missouri division as well, which is debatable in value. If they push together, it's very good. Anyway, back to the point. Kings of the Sea 5 is starting tomorrow. Tomorrow at 14 CET. I will be casting the elimination round of Kings of the Sea. Now, it actually already played last week. It started with a massive 64 clans on EU, and we managed to cut down half, and we are now in the first stages of playoffs. And tomorrow I will be casting the elimination round, and then on Sunday at 14 CET as well, that's UTC +1, same time on Saturday and on Sunday, we'll be casting the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. So that's the upcoming weekend. What's even more interesting though is that this year Kings of the Sea is also being hosted in NA. So we have simultaneous tournaments going on in both EU and NA. And next weekend, after the EU and NA winners have been decided, we're going to have an international finals with the top NA team taking on the top EU team to decide who truly is the King of the Sea. So that should be extremely hype and very interesting. Also, I will be flying to Paris with Isolate, a guy I've been casting a fair amount with. Some of you probably might recognize him. And I will be casting both the finals, the third place, and the international finals from Wargaming's office in Paris. So that's next weekend. That's going to be happening on my stream as well. So that should be extremely interesting. Tomorrow it will start though at 14 CET, UTC +1, and we got, what, 32 teams to work through to start the elimination round. It's gonna be a lot of games. There's a lot of teams that you probably recognize, like OM, Omni, Wargaming Pay to Win, Pay to Lose. What else do we have? Team Delta, Sons of Kraken, Vikings, Alliance, Old School Crew, Tora, Deutsche Marine Division, Surface Contact Unknown, Paranoids, Over Penetrations, blah 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 blah, UFR. We got Italian Royal Navy, Total War Alliance. We got teams from pretty much every country in Europe. We got teams from all over Europe taking on each other, so that should be a very interesting fight, and that's tomorrow. And, well, people have in general enjoyed Kings of the Sea quite a bit, so I of course volunteered to cast once again, because I know a lot of my viewers really enjoy it. So I hope to see many of you tune in tomorrow to watch that battle start. It tends to be, I would say it's probably the most valued EU tournament. And now, considering it's also being played in NA, and the fact that they will be taking on each other, top EU versus top NA winner, it might become one of the most valuable tournaments in general, or the tournament with the most prestige. So clans will obviously try their absolute utmost to score, to place themselves highly, or, well, of course, to win. And what else should I mention? Oh, the rules, it's 9 versus 9, tier 10. So all clans will have a lot of experience with the tier 10 meta, thanks to playing Clan Wars, of course. But more importantly, it's going to be 9 versus 9. It's going to allow 2 battleships, and it's going to allow a carrier. So it's going to be a bit different than Clan Wars, but still the same tier, so people are familiar, but still with changes. So it should be quite interesting to watch. And yeah, that's for tomorrow, Sunday, and next weekend. Moving on to the game itself, what happened here is these two Missouris, apparently these are all in a division. These Missouris are all in a division, but they don't really seem to be playing like a division. See, I thought they were going to push up together, and I was ready to push up with them. But then this Missouri suddenly started reversing. First the front guy, then the other guy, and there's a Missouri really far behind us as well, and they're not really pushing together at all. And I don't really know where the CN Young is. I don't really know where the Kagero is. They have been spotted at B at some point. They might still be in B. Our Z23 is overextended and sitting there. He should be running. He's probably going to die. So we kind of need to get something done. But I can't really push up in the Musashi. And that's kind of the problem. You don't really have any way of dealing with DDs. that's why one of the reasons why I always prefer the Missouri. You push up your radar, you force the DDs back, you're this threat to DDs at all times. That's something you can't really do in the Musashi. This guy is still reversing. At this point though, I just go, what the heck, we need to start pushing, we need to get something done, because we're losing map control extremely heavily here, and I don't really know what he's doing. I even asked Infinist, why are you reversing? He's full HP, he's got his division mates in front of him, so I don't know why he's not backing up his division mates, why he's instead of fleeing. It's debatable. I'm being shot from behind the island. I assume it's Donskoy and Mogami who are both farming me. The Musashi has pretty good armor. As long if they're hitting the top deck, your armor can mitigate a lot of the HE damage. I mean, you're technically a Yamato. I mentioned this before. I consider the ship extremely overpowered for tier 9. Okay, now the Missouri started pushing again. I legit have no idea what this division is doing. I'm trying to play around this division because they are my source of radar. They are my source of countering the DDs, because I have no idea where the DDs really are. So I'm hoping this Missouri division will be my source of helping. I'm hoping they will pop like random radars and stuff and try to give us some information, but we're not actually getting any information on the cruisers behind that island. We're in general not really getting any information on the DDs, so I assume they're all holding their radar, which is a bit pointless if you got 3 of them. Oh, that looks like a radar. The Kagero got spotted. More importantly, the Donskoy got spotted. That's the Missouri in the front finally radaring. And that's good, because now I can delete this Donskoy and get rid of him, and I'll stop being farmed by his HE. I do eat a Citadel in return for doing that though. Was it octagon shaped frontal Citadel gets me punished quite heavily, because, well, once again, the Musashi is not good in crossfires. That's one of the weaknesses of both the Musashi and the Yamato. You can't deal with any sort of crossfires, because if you do, you get Citadeled. I use the radar to punish the Kagero as well. I get a really nice chunk on him, 4 overpens and 2 pens. That's pretty much all his health pool gone, so he's gonna be very, very low. At this point, I would love to see this Mimi guy just reverse behind the island. He can get into cover quite well and just allow his teammates, division mates, to push up. But it looks like his division mates aren't really... It's an interesting division in the sense that it feels like they're all playing a random battle alone. It doesn't seem like they're playing together as a division at all. I think that was another random radar from one of them, unless this guy got spotted by the Missouri. Either one is possible. Regardless though, this is very good information, because now I finally have some idea of where the Kagero is. I finally have some idea of where the Xian Yang is. Well, I know exactly where the Xian Yang is. And because I have some information now, I can maybe play around these torps a bit. That's really one of the fundamental issues when you try to push in anywhere in the Musashi, is if you don't know where the enemy DDs are, you struggle very, very heavily. Because the problem with the Musashi is that you can't really turn into torps if you're anywhere near enemy battleships. Because if you turn into torps to dodge and you show any sort of broadside, any sort of frontal Citadel, whatever, you will get punished so extremely heavily because of how high your Citadel sits. Now, that doesn't mean the ship is weak, of course, but it is a significant weakness, and ultimately it results in much staler, much slower, much more passive gameplay than what you would ever see in the Missouri. If I had been playing Missouri in the same position, I would have been playing much more aggressive, because I would have had my radar to use on key moments to deal with DDs, and in general I wouldn't be nearly as afraid of pushing. I would have better concealment. There would be more options available. Whereas in the Musashi, if you try to push into a crossfire, push into multiple people just sitting there waiting for you, it works as long as they sit right in front of you. The second they start getting on your flanks, the second they start getting around you, you start suffering heavily. You saw how the Aiva Citadel me as soon as I turned to kill the Donskoy. I turned because I wanted to use my back guns on the Donskoy, and as soon as I turned enough to use the back guns, he instantly Citadeled me. And that's really the fundamental issue with this ship, is that, wow, this guy really isn't very good at sailing. I think I've lost count of the amount of times he's rammed me. I think I need to save him. I don't know if he realizes there's a Missouri in B that's about to kill him. So I'm actually gonna turn, and we're gonna see if we can maybe kill this Missouri and save this guy, because he's charging out from around the island with absolutely no awareness whatsoever. There he is, the Missouri. Is he turning his guns? It looks like he's starting to turn his guns. Let's see if we can save our potato Missouri before he gets killed. Full broadside. Missouri gives full broadside, dispersion favors me, double citadel, instant deletion. That is, of course, the firepower of the ship is immense. It's immense even for tier 10, but at tier 9 it's monstrous. That combined with the tankiness, the amount of damage I've just been soaking up without any issues, is what makes this ship so incredibly powerful at this tier. Ideally, I would love for this Missouri behind me to just play very chill, or deal with the DD. The Donskoy, ideally, of course, the Donskoy that's on my left, he should be the one who moves and deals with the CN Young that's behind us, but he's fighting the battleships. Now, a Donskoy is pretty good at burning down battleships, but look how close he is. He's far too close to them. If you sit that close to battleships in a cruiser, they will be able to hit you with every volley. And if you're trading so that you hit every volley on them and they hit every volley on you, you will lose the fight extremely quickly in a cruiser. That's why you want to sit at a range where you can get a few hits in every now and then. You might not get the perfect 100% hit rate, but you will be dodging the shells, incoming shells. That's the only way you can out-trade a battleship. If you're trading evenly, like you land shells, he lands shells, battleships will just chew you alive. And that's exactly what happened to him. He was far too close. Also, ideally, if he had instead just disengaged and came down and radared the CN Young and got rid of him, that would have helped us a lot more. Because now I have to deal with the fact that I know there's a CN Young behind me, and he might be pushing into A at any point. I do have a bit of a plan forming here, though. Fundamental thing you always want to do if you have two battleships available, you want to create a crossfire. Now this guy who's been ramming into me, I don't have the highest faith in his sailing capacity, but it looks like he is going north. So I'm gonna see if I can maybe use this to bait these guys into a crossfire. That means I'm gonna actually start reversing. I'm gonna kind of draw them in towards me. They are playing very aggressive, they're pushing towards me, and at this point I'm still angled very well, and I can absorb these hits without too many issues. I'm giving maybe a bit too much frontal citadel here, but that's just because I want to bring my guns to bear. He actually switched to HE, he's starting to get desperate, that's perfectly fine by me. 3 people targeting me, that means the CN Young is down here aiming at me as well. I've kind of drawn him down into the trap that I wanted. Also, the detection number went down from 3 to 2. That means the CN Young is aiming torps at me. It went back up to 3, but you notice that? It briefly went down to 2. That means he switched to his torp tubes right there, and he probably shot torps at me. So this is a perfect time for me to reverse and accelerate, and at this point I'm kind of snapping shut the jaws of this trap that I created. Look where the Missouri is. He's pushed north, and I've dragged these guys into a crossfire. The Missouri is holding the north flank, I'm holding the south flank, and now by pushing forward, I'm basically creating the perfect crossfire, and both of these guys are stuck in between this. If they angle against me, they give broadside to Missouri. If they angle against the Missouri, they give broadside to me. The CN Young briefly showed himself in A, but I already knew he was there. And there's of course still the risk of torps, but I kind of timed exactly when he shot the torps based on priority target. That's why I love that perk, so I should be able to outrun them without too many issues. I aimed high, hoping to hit his upper belt and superstructure. There's the torps that we know he launched a while ago, and I dodged them without too many issues, because once again, priority target told me they were coming. You see, he's trying to angle against the Missouri, and in doing so he's giving me a lot of broadside. And if you give this much broadside to this kind of firepower, well, that's when you eat 20k damage. You can eat a lot more as well. I only landed 7 shells there. My Missouri should be pushing in though, the way I'm doing. It's a bit of an issue here that he's actually playing far too safe, and he should be punishing this broadside this Friedrich is giving. But he kind of missed out on his opportunity. It should be fine though, I should be able to kill him before he kills me. Aim at superstructure, don't want any bounces, and we pen him straight through. CN Young spamming me with HE, but of course we run fire prevention, because this is our Yamato captain, so one fire is not really going to be the end of the world. Smoke runs out, CN Young can't really farm us anymore, and the Chapayev is pushing in. At this point we're going to use our concealment to our advantage. He left the cap, that already tells me he is moving east. He is moving out of the cap towards the east. We're keeping an eye out on our detection. Seeing if maybe we can help our Chapayev find this guy, because this Chapayev actually went up and took C, and I think he took B as well, which was very good for our team. I got undetected, that's very important to note. So I ping exactly where he's moving, the exact squares where he's moving, letting my Chapaya know. He goes Wilco, he understands. Now we're going to do another little trick. We shoot. This increases our concealment, and I still remain undetected while firing. That tells me he's actually right behind the island, and I ping exactly where the Xian Yang is going, and the Chapayev, who listened to my commands and turned around, catches the Xian Yang coming around the island completely by surprise, and he gets killed, and we manage to clinch the victory in this game. 1.4 million credits. Now, I went into this game with the sole purpose of testing out just how many credits can I make in the Musashi. And I'm not really that impressed. Now, don't get me wrong, 1.4 million. Wow, Flamu, that's amazing. That's a lot of credits. Yeah, but it's still not the Missouri amount of credits. I've been looking at this quite a lot, and I've been playing a bunch of the Musashi. Both I played it on while testing it, and I've been playing it on live, and there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the Musashi does not generate as much money as the Missouri does. It does not generate as much. I would say you're probably getting a fifth less credits from the Musashi than you get from the Missouri, like for the exact same performance. 216k damage, which is always nice. This was a very stale game, but then that's kind of what you're often stuck in doing with the Musashi, because it is a very stale type of battleship. It's not a roaming battleship like the Missouri Montana, that kind of line. It's a very stationary, angled, hold angles. Like you play more like a fortress than a mobile battleship, and that's just the way the ship plays. There's not much else to it. Team score wise, 2.7k basic speed, that is of course always nice. This is tier 9 matchmaking though, and if you get tier 9 matchmaking, well, then you're golden, because this ship is a monster in tier 9. It's strong in tier 10, but tier 9 is just, well, I've called it overpowered, and I still think it's overpowered, but that's pretty much all there is to it. It is a Yamato with worse dispersion, worse AA. Still a monster for tier 9 though. Detailed report wise, AP shells pretty much dealt all the damage that we saw. Potential damage 1.9 million, not as much as it could have been. We tanked 144k damage, which is pretty okay. A bunch of fire damage, but once again it was one fire at a time, and fire damage is of course not a big deal because you can heal up all of it. So if you're gonna take any damage, taking fire damage is the best type of damage to be eating. And finally we get the credits and XP. And see, this is where the point really kicks in. The reason why I made so many credits is because I was running a Zulu flag and I was running a Wyvern flag. And these are 20 and 50% modifiers. So this is a huge bonus on top of the credit income. In fact, the actual income that I made without premium was 562. 562. And that's without flags or premium. With premium, it was 843k credits. Without running flags, I'm almost certain I would have broken 1 million credits in the Missouri. Without running any flags, I would have almost certainly broke 1 million credits in the Missouri. So in my mind, there is no doubt. I've seen other people also suspect this, and I personally support that claim 100%. The Musashi does not make as much money as the Missouri, and I think this is quite misleading because it's priced exactly the same as the Missouri, and the Missouri is infamous for being this huge moneymaker. And I haven't really seen Wargaming particularly openly announce that, oh yeah, this has a smaller multiplier for credit income than the Missouri has. I haven't seen it written anywhere. I haven't seen any sort of announcement, but there's absolutely no doubt that the Missouri or the Musashi makes a bit more money than the tier 8 premium, but not really much. Whereas the Missouri is of course Mr. Moneybags, that's the real credit maker. So they have absolutely nerfed the credit income. It's nowhere near, well, I would say a fifth less than Missouri's income. Barely a bit more than tier 8 income. So in terms of free XP usage, if you want a credit maker, Missouri is far, far better. And I mean, you can almost get the same performance with the tier 8 premium. Well, in terms of money making, not of course in ship performance, but in terms of money making, it feels only slightly better than your average tier 8 premium. So I think it's a bit misleading, because I haven't seen any sort of announcement, I haven't seen any sort of notice that, oh, by the way, this isn't going to be printing money like the Missouri does. And I think a lot of people are buying it with the expectation that it's a Missouri replacement. And Missouri is of course known for being a moneymaker. So yeah, feels a bit misleading, but you have my heads up on it at least. Don't expect to be making the sort of money that you're making in the Missouri in the Musashi. You're not going to. An excellent game in the Missouri will let you break 2 million. An excellent game in the Musashi, well, it's gonna be, I don't know, it's not gonna come anywhere near. The fundamental problem is of course that all of these modifiers as well, things like Wyvern and Zulu, all of these modifiers are percentage based. So it's based on the base number. So the higher the base number, the exponentially higher the bonuses that gets added on top. And if the base number is already a lot lower, then of course the bonuses won't scale as well. So it all adds up and it becomes a pretty grim picture, especially when you compare it to the Missouri. Don't get me wrong though, the Musashi is still an amazing ship and I absolutely recommend it, but I still hold down to my conviction that I think when it comes to XP, making credits, in general, just winning games and so forth, I still think the Missouri is the superior ship. I also think it's more fun to play than the Musashi because, well, I already have the Yamato. But there's your heads up. You're not going to make the same amount of money in this one. Anyway, that was all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you later.